Hello and welcome to Inner Voice Show that is for you, for your life, and all the things that matters in your life from a psychological perspective. I'm Dr. Foojan Zeine. I'm a psychotherapist and licensed marriage and family therapist. And we're going to talk about making love today. Yes, making love. Dr. Robert Johansen, psychologist, is here for us to talk about making love. He's an author of a book that is called Making Love. Now you're all getting excited, I know. Now before he comes on and we talk about the favorite subject that we all have, if you wanted to know about any of our other shows, and go to my YouTube and go check out the YouTube with my interviews with a lot of different psychologists and masters and people who have actually created theories of psychology, or other entertainers, and go check them out. All right, so be with us. We'll be right back with Dr. Robert Johansen talking about making love. Hello, I'm Dr. Foojan Zeine, and welcome to Inner Voice Show. On this episode, we're going to talk about relationship, finances, and a whole lot more. So stay tuned. Hi, I'm Dr. Foojan Zeine. I'm a psychotherapist. I'm an author and an international speaker. I have hosted my own television show, Inner Voice, in a satellite program for 16 years. Whether it's premarital counseling or through their marriage, how to deal with children, and if they're going through a divorce, to teach them how to communicate better together. In actuality, I think my job is very important to work with individuals and the couples in order to make the most important relationship of their life healthy, which makes them healthy. On my Inner Voice show, I actually interview some of the prominent psychologists and entertainers in English, and I also speak to some of the psychotherapists who are Iranians and the artists who are Iranians, and I speak in Persian to the Persian population around the world, from Iran or Europe or Japan, Australia, all over the United States and Canada, because obviously I was born in Iran.
Where's Dr. Zeine? Dr. Zeine?
Hello.
You also have been trained in my specific methodology and techniques, correct?
Yes.
Are you willing to talk to her after this show?
Absolutely.
And tell her the step-by-step that she needs to do to deal with what I believe is an addictive personality?
Yes, absolutely. The family goes through a lot. For boys who are becoming girls, the fathers of the family suffer. They will keep being confused. They look at all the childhood pictures that they've took of their son, and now they look at somebody who's standing in front of them and supposed to be their daughter. Coming up, I'm going to be talking to a psychotherapist about awareness integration model. You really want to know what that is, huh? Coming up. Stay tuned. Hi, I'm Dr. Foojan Zeine, psychotherapist, and I'm here with Nasreen Bafordari, licensed marriage and family therapist. We're going to talk about awareness integration model, a psychological model that I have originated, and Nasreen Bafordari is one of the first therapists who has actually learned and has been utilizing it with her clients. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for inviting me. This is an honor.
Some of the major topics that I actually talk to my clients who are couples are first talking about sexuality. Many people don't know how to talk about sex. Concept of communication about it is something that I actually have to teach the couples in how to do. We talk about sexuality. Many people come into their sexuality in a very automatic way. We can go through the whole experience and wham, have a great time. But being with another human being, it actually takes skills. So becoming aware of every area of how we think, how we behave, how we feel, how we communicate with another human being in order to have an amazing sexuality is part of what we also teach in this AI model.
So much of our sexuality.
People don't talk about finances a lot. They don't have a system. They come from two backgrounds of how they actually have created their finances, and I have to help them create a system and have a great communication in how to follow the system. Another main topic is when they actually have children. Now remember, two people, two backgrounds, two cultures, two sets of values are coming in, and now they actually have to bring those together, and that's where they need how to communicate, be flexible, and really negotiate on one way of handling their kids. Duet, sometimes you guys are entering each
Yes.
other's space
Yes.
and singing together, and
Yes.
then solo. How does that experience for you?
The funny thing is,
In-laws, we have to deal with them. They're always there. They're going to be there. We didn't marry them, but they came with the package. So somehow we have to really, really work with it. And if I have to actually add one more topic that I've had to deal with a lot of couples and individuals is addiction. Whether it's an addiction to alcohol or drugs, pornography, cell phone, computers is one aspect that really, really affects the person's life and in their relationship. With people who are going through recovery from addiction, they've had some sort of a trauma in their childhood. And when we've worked with the awareness integration model with them, clearing the trauma, the choice and the chance for them to relapsing is really minimized. I have been in the field of psychology for about 25 years. I started with seminars in ontology and psychology almost the same time. And I know you were part of the pilot study that we did, and in the result of that pilot study was that people were actually minimizing the depression 76%. They were minimizing anxiety 64%, and their self-esteem was rising about 43%. Now those are astonishing numbers.
You know, I wanted to go through it. I wanted to experience what my client would experience. So I asked you to work on me as a model for the group that was being trained.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching. If you like what you see, you can see more on my website and my YouTube channel. And if you want to contact me, I'm on Facebook and Twitter. Bye-bye. Welcome back, everyone, and thank you for joining me in our program. I know that I have met you. I have met Dr. Johansen in Brief Therapy Conference, and I listened to him and his colleagues about the new model that he has created about making love. I know I teased you guys, but it is about making love. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Of course. Can you say a little bit about yourself? I know that you're a psychologist. You're a clinical psychologist for many years. And you tell us about your expertise a little bit so
Sure.
people will know.
Well, as you know, I have the PhD in clinical psychology. I finished my doctoral dissertation at the University of California at Irvine, and then began private practice after having taught at several universities and still from time to time lectured at UCLA and some of the local colleges of my practice. But primarily I'm in a private practice and have been for about 35 years. And it's been very, very fulfilling. And having this model has added to the fulfillment of my practice considerably. It sounds funny to speak of one's work as a joy, but it's become a joy.
Yes.
Because I'm so very confident in the model and it's helped so many people.
Now, I know that when we were talking about making love, most of us, what we think about immediately is intimacy and having sexual relationship. But what you mean by making love is very different. You're talking about the intimacy of a heart-to-heart.
Exactly.
And when we are in a relationship, in an intimate relationship or a marriage, in how we can consistently promote that way of loving and being together, and that's what you mean by making love, which obviously it leads itself into sex too, and then sex becomes making love instead of just sex. But
Exactly.
what you mean is how to promote and recreate and regenerate that love consistently.
Right. Making the possibility for physical intimacy
Yes.
all the more probable. But you're absolutely right. The model is one that it certainly subsumes physical intimacy, but it's really a model that is designed to help couples achieve an intimate relationship and maintain that, because we believe that it's the most complicated and difficult relationship of them all.
Isn't it?
Yes, it
It's
is.
amazing. You know, sometimes we look at, especially for us where we work a lot with different topics, I've noticed that, you know, most things, most subjects, you have almost like a blueprint. Like if you do this, you'll be, probability of your success in your business is high. If you do this, probability of your success in being a good parent is high. And then yet when it comes to intimate relationships and marriages, you can be doing all the right things where you think so, and then somehow you're like, oh, what happened?
That's right.
Right?
That's exactly right. We're on the same page here. There really are no formal institutions that train us on how to be intimate. At best, we have the model that our parents provided, and at worst, we have a trial and error when we find ourselves in intimacy after we've gone through that brain rush of romance and passion. And then on the other side of that, we sometimes refer to that as post-romantic stress disorder.
I love
There
that.
we are on the other side of
Post-romantic
that,
stress
and now we're facing the realities of the relationship.
Yes.
And now that the challenge before us is how do we make love, how do we sustain the closeness, and that can be very challenging for many of us.
What makes the challenge from your perspective? What makes someone move towards continuous love rather than failing at it or destroying the love? Because every single human being walks into the intimate relationship or wants to get married because they want to create that love.
Exactly.
So we know that the goal is set. It's not that people don't have that goal or don't want to be in it. It's just that even though they have that goal and maybe have the best intentionality to create it, some other obstacle comes upon them or within their marriage. What is your experience?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Again, there are enormous obstacles that face us in our intimate context. Again, it's the most complicated relationship of them all. It's in a league of its own. It really can't be compared to any other relationship of which any of us is a part. And one of the things actually two of the things, and I'll try and be that stepwise person you seem to be implying, that we get outside of the intimacy in other areas of our functioning, that we don't get in intimacy. But there are two things that intimacy reveals about us that become formidable challenges for many of us. That is, intimacy reveals what is emotionally developed in us and what is not so emotionally developed in us. And it does that like no other relationship that we're a part of.
So if emotionally I'm not developed, meaning that emotionally I might be stuck at an age 5, and my body has grown, my age has grown, but somehow the rest of my emotions has not grown, I've not had the capability of that. Is that what you're saying, that in the intimate moments of not sexual, but intimacy in a way that we are together, that all of my needs and desires and, the lack of skills and things that I don't know or don't know how to say comes up as it was stuck at that age?
Yes, you could argue that. Yes, the model that we're creating and trying to teach here does subsume that. None of us escapes childhood unscathed.
True.
And none of us had perfect parenting. That's not to fault. That's not to fault our parents. That's pointless to do that. But none of us leave our childhood perfectly formed emotionally. In fact, psychologists can't agree on what that might be.
Right.
So we all bring into the next round of intimacy, first one being with our parents, second one being with our current partners or mates. We bring into that relationship an incompletely formed self. And we have to take responsibility for that, otherwise we leave our partner with the burden of that.
So somehow what we expected from our parents where we got it, and what we expected from our parents where we didn't get, then we come into an intimate relationship and then we expect that, and at times we'll get it and we won't get it, and then we'll have the same reaction as we had as a childhood?
Yes, I understand that point, yes. We sometimes try to repeat what was good and avoid what was bad. But in the model that we're talking about, so I can kind of frame it up a little bit more concretely, the intimate relationship reveals what is emotionally developed in us. And that's revealed through how well we manage the needs, our emotions, the needs that we bring to our partners. How well we do that sets the stage for how we love who we are in relation to our partners. It would be hard to imagine how we could love a partner when we don't like the person we are in relation to our partner. So how do we grow a love of self in relation to our partner in order to maintain love in this rigorous context, difficult, complicated relationship of intimacy? Well, we identify what our needs are.
So instead of consistently, when we are with a partner, looking at our partner in a way and having them be the focus of our attention, we also need to have ourselves as a focus of attention, where we keep looking and observing and evaluating and loving ourselves and looking at how I'm responsible, how am I acting, what am I doing in order to, what am I bringing into this relationship.
Absolutely. Again, we're on the same page. The common fallacy or conventional notion of loving we call character-based loving. That is, we say we love our partner because our romantic partner, say we're beginning to date someone. I love this person because they are intelligent, they are sexy, they are fun to be with, they are this, that, and the other. And we make this attribution that I love you because you possess these traits. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, several years into the relationship, those traits are being perceived differently.
Right.
Because they're founded on a basis of perception, which is constantly shifting.
Or if that person moves from that character or behavior or changes, then we cannot move with it because we were fixated to that character that it was and can't grow within the relationship because of that.
That fits the model that we're talking about as well. Mm-hmm. That's right.
So therefore, it appears that when you're looking at the low intimacy intelligence, because you have this intelligence model within it, like an emotional intelligence, and then you have this intelligence. So say more about the conversation that you have in your model about how a person can look at their emotional intelligence and intimacy intelligence and how to assess that or promote that.
Very good. Yes. Good question. The model would define emotional intelligence or emotional intelligence as one's ability to identify emotion, one's ability to identify the needs that are generating that emotion. Mm-hmm. And that can be a difficult task because many times many emotions are being generated at the same time. Intimate partners are constantly playing off one another, activating a variety of different emotions. So part of this emotional intelligence requires that we discern which of those needs in the moment is most critical and should be actively managed. And we're arguing in the model that underneath, at the most fundamental level, all needs are legitimate. And if they are legitimate, they should therefore be actively managed. If I bring to you, my wife, a legitimate, fundamentally legitimate need, but I fail to actively manage it, then I become someone in relation to you I don't like. As a consequence, it's hard for me to maintain my passion, my love for you.
Give me an example.
Let's say the need for understanding. This is a real basic one. I need you, my wife, to understand what I am going through. I need that even more than your advice sometimes. So how well do I recognize that need when it's activated in a variety of circumstances? How well do I recognize that that's there? And then beyond that, how well do I manage that need?
What do you mean by managing the need?
Management of the need, according to our model, requires three important components. We start the communication ball rolling by balancing self and other respect. Just because I bring a need to you and I'm ready to talk about it doesn't mean that you're ready to listen to it.
Right. So if I need right now to talk because something happened at work, does not mean you're ready, that you have the full listening for me at that moment, because you could be also in another space.
Exactly. And if I rush you with this demand for your attention and your understanding, I'm taking a big risk, because you, as you just pointed out, you may be going or following a different expectational agenda. So we try to advocate that people first balance self and other respect. This is the first step in the management or representation of the need, and it can take a simple form, as simple as, do you have a moment we can talk? Are you real busy? Would this be a good time I could talk to you about something very important to me? Many people laugh at that when I introduce this in therapy, because this sounds overly stilted, impersonal. It sounds like we're having a business meeting. Right. And I laugh along with them. Yes, it does. But if you don't do this, you take a risk.
Yeah, the probability of a mismatch at that moment is a lot more than having this so the person can honestly tell you, yes, I'm ready, or give me 5 minutes, or I'm not ready, whatever it is at that moment.
Exactly.
I'm also hearing from you not only to have the request for the time so that the need can be fulfilled, but also if I know the need and if I can understand my own need and if I can name the need, somehow if I even put it for my partner, then they're up to par. For example, if I know that I just need you to hear me out and understand me and not give me an advice, then I would say it, could you just hear me for a moment? I'd love to hear your advice, but can you just hear me for a moment? So I can even request for my need, which bypasses a lot of, again, failed conflicts if I'm not asking for it up front. Does that make sense? I don't know if that makes sense to you.
I think we're still on the same page here. When I ask for a moment of your time, I'm managing a need already. I'm showing respect for myself.
Yes.
So just in the mere fact of asking for a moment of your time, I've done something to elevate my self-respect.
Okay.
Okay, I want to do that in relation to you because by doing that, I keep my love of you alive in that way. Making love, remember?
Yeah.
Title of the book. So I set the stage for a good communication by trying to keep these self and other scales balanced. I try and respect you and myself simultaneously. The common mistake we make in our relationships is to over-respect you, thereby under-respecting myself. Or vice versa, over-respecting myself, thereby under-respecting you. In either case, the scales get imbalanced and tension gets induced in the relationship, and right from the beginning, the conversation can break down. So when I invest in other understanding or respect in you, it's like putting $100 in a bank. Now I can withdraw it. If I haven't put the money in the bank, I certainly can't take it out.
Exactly.
So I ask you for a moment of your time. Do you have a minute we can talk? Is this a good time? And I make sure I go out of my way to give my partner a yes or no option. Because if I don't, I'm over-respecting self, thereby under-respecting other, and I'm not off to a good start.
So that's first setting up where your first need would be the respect. So you would respect yourself and the other person, and creating an ambiance for the actual conversation to begin.
Exactly.
So then there's also, in your example, was the need for being understood, the need for understanding. So as I'm going to give you whatever is happening for me, my expectation somehow and my need from my partner now is for them to understand me, right? So do I also proactively, that's what I was saying, I assume that proactively, if I know my own need, I can also request for that, which is, can I have you, hear me out, or can I, because the reason I say this is because a lot of the couples that come to me, a lot of their arguments is like they do talk.
Yes.
They put the space to talk, and they do talk. But after the first couple of couple sentences, each one of them is following their own patterns of listening, and then it goes like,
Exactly.
And that's what I was saying is like, if when your model where you're talking about an emotional intelligence where the person really knows what their needs are and knows how to manage it, then after the first setup of request of that respect, knowing my own level of understanding of what I need, then I can also voice the other needs simultaneously, systematically.
Right. And if I could just build on that for a moment, because again, we're doing well together. You and I are having a pretty good conversation. The communication seems pretty good. So I ask my partner for a moment of her time, and I always make sure I give her a yes or no option. Okay, If she says yes, I thank her for that. And I can even make reference to a time in the past when she gave me her time and her understanding and how that made me feel. So first step, balancing self and other respect. That paves the way for a better communication. Next step, I express my need. It would mean a lot to me if I could get your understanding. Remember 2 hours ago or 4 days ago or 10 years ago, doesn't matter. When you and I sat down and we talked, I really felt close to you. I felt I was being understood. Now here's what I've done. I've expressed the need and the deepest feelings associated with that need. When I do that, I make a deep integration or a deep connection within myself, which elevates the probability of a deeper connection with you, my partner.
What you just did has another element to it too, which has, it's not only that I am requesting, but I'm doing two other things with the request. One, I'm letting you know that you've done that already for me.
Yes.
So I know that you have the skills.
Yes, yes.
And I'm going to remind you that you have the skills
That's
because I'm going to
right.
remind you when you
Good.
did it.
That's right.
And the third element, which I think was beautiful, it's this part of I'm already recognizing and, kind of like tapping you on the back and appreciating already what you're going to give me, rather than for the request to come as a demand, or for the request to come as, well, you haven't done it before, so I'm letting you know you better be doing this time. So it doesn't come in a demanding or a complaint or a lack, but it's coming from the place of, I know you have the skills, you've given this to me before, and when you gave it to me, there was such a beauty in this experience that I'm requesting that again. So I'm pumping up my partner, ready to give me what they already know and they probably love, and know that if they give it to me, I'll be experiencing that again. It really opens up that path, and it's like, again, it takes the probability of gaining that for both of us higher and higher.
That's excellent. That's why I think when you and I met and I heard your conference, we clicked from the moment we met. I like that expose a whole lot. That's exactly what happens. Notice that throughout everything you said, you kept a balance of self and partner respect. We don't just start the communication that way. We try to maintain that balance throughout the communication so that we don't disbalance it, because that induces tension, communication breaks down. So I've balanced self and other respect. I've expressed my need to be understood in this case. That's the identified need. And I've expressed the deepest feelings associated with that need. And again, I've achieved a deep connection within myself and intimacy within myself, which is a necessary preparation or precondition for the intimacy between you and me, my wife. I will be no more intimate with you than I am first intimate with myself. Here's what a lot of people
And
do.
respect. It's like, well, I can give myself respect, and I can give myself appreciation, and I can give myself a lot of the word pat on my back comes, like, there's another word for it, but it'll come any minute. Before, and as I'm giving this to me and verbally giving it to you, to my partner, then the whole space is safe. The whole space is positive. Even if we're going to talk about something that we might not have a agreement on, but the space that whatever the conversation that's going to come in for negotiation or hearing already is in a context of positiveness and love and respect.
Exactly. We're growing love for one another. A very famous Yale psychologist by the name of Sid Girard many years ago said, self-disclosure begets self-disclosure. So if we do that in the context of mutual respect, we are creating that atmosphere you talked about. We're coming together. We're making love. We're making a connection. And there's been no need gratification occurred at all yet. And yet there has been need gratification in a different sense. So if I could, real quick, balance self and other respect, express the need, the deepest feeling associated with the need, that achieves an intimacy within myself, elevating the chance of a greater connection between you and me. And then the last step, and this is what really is difficult, this is challenging for me and my relationship, my wife at home, and for many of my patients, my clients. We prioritize the management of the need over the immediate personal gratification of the need. What this accomplishes is it places the health of the relationship in a position of higher priority than the immediate personal gratification of one's individual needs.
We need an example on this one.
Okay.
Can you extend on the example that you had already?
That's a lot of verbiage. I know that's a lot of talk.
No, I mean, I get this in concept, but for our wonderful audience to also put that in perspective of what does that mean in an argument, or what does that mean in a conversation, to bring it in that, okay, then what is the next step of doing that?
Okay. Let's suppose that I need you're my wife, I need your understanding. I've had a very difficult, stressful day at the office, and I would like to get your understanding, like you're going to help me decontaminate from the day's stresses. But unbeknownst to me, before I approach you, you've got 1,000 things on your mind too. You may need to do the very same thing, or you've been busy with the kids all day or whatever. So I can't demand that you meet my need because I'm ready for you to have my need met. If I do that, what I'm doing is I'm placing the moment-to-moment health of our relationship in a position that's secondary to the immediate gratification of my need. That's a tough one for a lot of us, because what's wrong with me needing your understanding? It's a fundamentally legitimate need to want your understanding. But if I push that as my highest priority, I could end up making an angry demand on you, and that's what many people do. And I think that's why so many people divorce, because they fail to manage their needs well.
So, as I understand you, in the example, if I really need to talk to you, and I do ask for the request, and for some reason you say, I'm sorry, I can't. I gotta run, can't do that. Or I'm busy, or I'm sorry, I'm just too tired. At that moment, if I have an understanding of, yes, I do have this need right now that needs to be gratified, which means I need to talk and I want your listening and I want to talk to you for you to hear me. And if I don't, I'm blowing up inside, or I'm stressed about it. And this is my need right now. That's what you're talking about, immediate gratification. My need needs to be met right now. And yet, if my partner cannot give me that, for me to have an understanding that the relationship between the two of us and the health of the relationship between the two of us and the respect of each one of us as an individual is so much greater than for me to be like, I want it now.
Exactly.
I just want it now.
Right.
You got to give it to me now.
Right.
So as I kind of elevate into that space of, okay, I got it. I have this need, but you also have a different need at the moment that needs to be gratified. So how can we, when would you have the time, or when can you give it to me, or at one point, it's
Right.
okay, we'll get together again.
Right.
And how can I either satisfy my need in another way, or take care of myself and then postpone it for another time, and therefore the respect continues.
That's exactly right, and that's where there's a huge psychoeducative component, or a lot of learning that has to be done in order to learn this model. It takes a lot of energy, a lot of that development of that kind of maturity to say, as important as my need is for your understanding in this moment, it's not as important as the moment-to-moment health of our relationship. That takes a lot of practice, that takes a lot of learning. So we have a little exercise, so that when people mismanage their need, once the arousal, the negative arousal of having a mismanaged need, the frustration that comes with that subsides, and we come back and we encourage people to come back and talk to each other, say, earlier today I was pressing you so hard for your understanding. I've thought about that. If I could do it all over again, I would have allowed some more space for you in that conversation. I would have been more respectful of you and just slated our conversation for a later time. When I do that, I can grow my esteem for myself independent of need gratification. I don't want to put, in other words, the immediate gratification of my personal need ahead of the importance of the health of our relationship, which I preserve, maintain by virtue of managing my needs well, and that is balancing self and other respect, which always allows you a yes or no option, expressing my need, the deepest feelings associated with the need, and then prioritizing the management of the need over the gratification of the need. A lot of verbiage there. Sorry. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. What comes up for me is that when we choose to be in a relationship, we choose to be in an us mode. And although we're two individual in the us mode, that we're not one, we're two people, we'll always stay two people, and we'll always stay different. However, the different needs of us, which at times will keep coming up, and the timing is not always perfect, in any aspect of life, but in the relationship, for every part of our need as it comes up to be fulfilled. So therefore, the expectation of having my need being fulfilled immediately, and then demanding of that expectation, is one of the obstacles which kills intimacy.
Right.
So in promoting the intimacy and closeness is knowing that we're different, respecting myself and the other person within us. However, also respecting the us and what's happening in between us. Because what I put in, if I'm demanding for right now, gimme this, I'm not respecting you or the us position. So whatever we bring into this us, and you're saying, looking forward to the betterment of us should take the prioritization. Now, I know, does that make
Yes.
sense? Is that what you?
Yes.
Okay, great. What brought it for me is to, how many days you might want to go to work in the morning and you're like, I don't want to go. I need to rest. I just don't want to go. And then yet for the betterment of your success and career and promotion and all of that, you take away your immediate need at that moment and you're like, I know, I don't want to go. However, I'm going to get myself up and go.
Yes.
So the same way you would do that, where most people probably do that many times during the week, you understand that that's what you're doing. You're letting go of an immediate gratification.
Right, yes.
For the bigger picture of the benefit of your career.
That's a good example.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And you're
It's a very
saying
good
the
example.
same thing.
Yes.
If I'm with my partner saying, I want this right now. Now, I got this a lot on sex, because we're talking about making love. A lot of partners, when one has the need of sex right now, they might go invite the other person, and if the other person is not ready, well, sometimes they're not, then they go through that,
Right. Yes.
upset and pouting and, demanding,
Right,
and you don't
exactly.
love me, and they don't manage that in the bigger picture of, well, two of us, and, it's okay.
Can I give you an example of that very
Yes,
thing?
yes.
That it's commonplace in the intimate relationship for one partner to be a little bit more sexually interested than the other. And that shifts sometimes over the years of the length of relationship. But what do you do when there's this difference between a husband, say, who's very anxious to be sexual with his wife? The model applies in the same way. So we teach the client that you have a perfectly legitimate, identified need to be close to your wife. There are all kinds of benefits, health benefits, emotional and relational benefits coming from that kind of physical intimacy. However, if you don't balance self and other respects the scale right, then you are imposing that need on her at a time when she may not be ready. But we still encourage our clients. I'm thinking of a particular case that happened fairly recently, where I encourage this man to manage his need for physical intimacy with his wife, even when he knew that this might not be the best time, but to recognize that it's not the best time, but still actively manage the need because it is legitimate. If I bring a legitimate need to you, but I undermanage it, I grow out of love with who I am in relation to you. As a consequence, I don't love you as much. So manage the need, but give your wife a yes or no option. Let her know what it means to you to share that kind of closeness with you. This is something I share with you and you alone. And when we have this kind of experience together, it means everything to me. It grows my closeness for you. It's not just the physical ecstasy of it all, but the closeness that I get from you. Now, when this particular patient was able to manage that need well, he felt a surge of self-esteem independent of being able to sleep with his wife. She still refused him. She was not feeling well on this particular occasion. He allowed that, and in doing so, actually grew his esteem for himself, even though she said no. Now, the next day, he told me in the following session, he said, my wife approached me and apologized for not being ready and said, do you think we can talk about being close tonight? And that came about, we believe, because he managed the need well. Here's the magic. When we effectively manage the needs we bring to our partners, we elevate the chances of our partner wanting to gratify our needs.
Yeah, because it's safe. It's not only it's safe. We're not punishing them. We're not
Yes.
making them mad and wrong. We're
Right.
not. It's not a complaint. It's really about me just letting you know what I want and how it makes me feel.
Exactly.
There's one sentence you keep saying,
Yes.
and I would like to request from you to open it up, which is, because the sentence is profound. So it's just like we got to open this up. When I don't manage my own need, then I fall out of love with who I am with you.
Yes.
Can you open that up?
Yes, I can. It's commonplace for us when we fall in love in a character-based way. I love you because you are intelligent and pretty. And now, because you possess these traits, you're obligated to make me happy because you possess those traits. You're under some sort of obligation. Okay, so
If I love you, that means you're obligated to make me happy because I love you. Now, I love you because of those traits. But it's now that I love you, it's your obligation.
That's right. That's right. So, if I manage who I am as, and we define who we are in terms of needs, and if I take the right view of those needs, that they're fundamentally legitimate, and I actively manage those needs, then I like who I am in relation to you. This is exactly what an ideal parent does, raising a small child. An ideal parent looks over into the child, sees what's there waiting to develop, sees the developmental needs, and aligns their parental resources with those needs. When a good parent does that job well, a child leaves that relationship feeling respect for themselves, they know who they are as defined by their needs, and they can effectively represent those needs because they've been validated by that parent. If that's what grows self-esteem originally, and a capacity for self and other love, that's exactly what we should be doing in the intimate context. So when I do that, I like who I am in relation to you, my wife. As a consequence, I like you. We all know about people who stay in relationship for a long period of time. Take Ronald and Nancy Reagan. Here was a man who was a leader of the free world, but over the course of his life, he lost his abilities. But we admired Nancy because she retained her love for him. It wasn't because of a character-based love, but because of what she was in relation to him. I like to hypothesize about this. I have no idea what their relationship was like, but this is a way of explaining it. If I like who I am in relation to you, and it sounds as egocentric as that sounds, as selfish as that may sound, it has a positive effect on us. In fact, I tell people, you don't have to worry about the us, the we, the our. That will take care of itself. When you are managing your needs well, the we, the our, the us is a byproduct of that. Because I'm always thinking of you by showing respect, I'm expressing my needs, the deepest feelings associated with those needs. I'm getting an intimacy with myself, and therefore elevating the probability you're going to do the same.
So,
Yes.
this is what I hear. I'm translating it for myself. When I'm respectful to me, it raises my esteem for me.
Yes.
I begin liking who I am, regardless of what your mood or whatever is going on with
Yes.
you.
Yes.
And when I am coming from loving you, from who I am with love, it means the concept of love is important for me. Concept of respect is important for me. Those are values that are important, and also my needs. So not only my needs are understanding and getting something from you, that there's also this other need that I can be giving. So when it's giving respect, when it's giving love to myself first, and then to you, to the space in between.
Yeah, I can't give myself the fullest measure of self-love unless I'm caring for you. It's impossible. I can't treat you poorly and expect to gain some self-respect from that. So everything you're saying is valid. It fits our modeling. If I manage who I am well in relation to you, I'm treating you well. I'm making place for your needs along with mine. As a consequence, I become someone in relation to you I like, therefore I love you, and I preserved the quality of our relationship by making our relationship the highest priority. When I do that, even though at times it means that I don't get to meet my personal needs, I am meeting a much higher personal need. The need that, and the fulfillments that come from having a good, stable, satisfying, intimate relationship.
There's still a piece of puzzle missing for me.
Okay?
I'm going to poke until I get it, too. If I get it, you'll get it. I know. So hold on. Hang in there with me. And maybe you got it already, and I'm the only one who hasn't gotten it, but I got to get this one. There's a piece of, maybe we'll do it in an example, and you can tell me in an example. I want to talk about my mate's mother because she did something I didn't like. So I just want my mate to sit down and I want to talk to him about what I don't like about what his mother did for me. And in-laws are issues
Yes,
in
they
our
are.
culture. So then it's like, I need to talk to you. So without the talking and all of that, at that moment, I need to manage my own need, which is, I'm upset. I'm upset about something that my mother-in-law did. Now, this is a person that I can't just say, bye-bye. I gotta keep them. And it's not a person that I can only hold my own relationship because they're also in relationship with, through my husband. So my thoughts are the only way I can deal with this is through him. Like, I want him to do something because it's his mother and he's got to do something with his mother. So therefore, that's where I am. Okay, so I come to you and my mate is there, and then I'm like, okay, so first is like, can I talk to you? Yes. I got a yes there.
Yes.
And then I will say, I want your listening the same way last time when I was talking about your sister. You listened to me so beautifully, and it made me feel cared for and loved and understood. And I thank you for taking that conversation and then, talking to your sister, and it all was beautiful. And, that's what I want. And he would say, absolutely, you got it. And then as I'm talking at that moment, what I hear from you is, by doing this, because I am respecting myself, that I begin loving me. And as I'm talking, I begin holding myself in a higher esteem. And I begin feeling confident. And although I might be vulnerable as I'm saying it, but I'm taking care of my own vulnerability as if I'm strong enough to take care of myself as I'm presenting.
Exactly.
And therefore, I like myself at that
Right.
moment.
You're becoming the parent to yourself. You're becoming your own hero by managing your needs in this way. Exactly, yes.
And that's what you mean by, I like who I am in relation with you, and as I feel that it feels so. In comparison with, if I come in and I still do the piece about, can I talk to you, and the person says yes, and I will start with feeling like I have a lack, and my partner's responsibility to take care of me, and my partner, if he doesn't tell his mother to blah blah blah, that means he doesn't love me. And in that moment, because I'm not taking care of myself, and I put this obligation on him, therefore I'm not liking who I am, because I see myself as a powerless, fragile woman rather than a strong woman who is able to take care of herself and then yet share. But if I see myself as this vulnerable, powerless woman, then I don't like who I am beside my mate. And then I put the obligation on my mate to elevate me.
And he's in conflict because he's got a split loyalty. He loves his mom and he loves you at the same time. But in terms of the management of your need, and you did that very well, by the way.
Thank you. I told you if I get it, you'll get it.
We are clicking here. That was excellent. So she brings a need to him to be understood for the hardship she's felt in relation to his mother.
Yes.
And if she's got to be very careful managing this need, because he does have this feeling for his own mother, of course. But she needs his respectful understanding. So when she manages that need well, it would mean a lot to me if I could get your understanding about something I just went through with your mother. That's excellent. And so he listens. When you've done this before, like with the sister example, when you did this before, I felt very understood. And I think that's more important than any solution he might have about how to treat mom. under some circumstances. Another point I wanted to make that you make me think about is our model points up that it's virtually, if not veritably, impossible for people to fight with each other, have arguments, have conflicts, unless each has brought to the other a fundamentally legitimate need. We couldn't fight. Imagine if one partner brought to the other a need that was absolutely ludicrous, ridiculous. It would be pointless to have a fight. So underneath are lurking perfectly legitimate needs. Using your example, you want to be understood for the hardship you felt with dealing with my mother. That's a legitimate need, to want your husband's support and understanding. How could we argue that? It's
Now, there's
legitimate.
also this piece which I'm putting in the middle. Somehow I also have to know how to manage my needs and assess whether my need is legitimate or not. Because sometimes, as you know, we are with clients who their needs are a little bit fantasized needs, and the obligation and responsibility they put on others a bit of a non-reality based concept. So it might also be that the person needs to also figure out, or there's a legitimate need which is attached to some sort of a fantasy need also.
Yes.
So that sort of, or it might even come up in the communication and it can be clarified.
Good point. I think I've got an answer for you. I hope this answers.
Please
Okay.
do, because I think we're running out of time, so we
Okay.
need this answer right now.
I'll try and be quick with this. There are three things that we do to make love to ourselves in the context with our partner, in the relationship with our partner. We do three things. We identify our needs. That helps define who we are in intimacy. Intimacy can be notorious for erasing a sense of self. So we define who we are by identifying our needs. Then we make those needs legitimate, because in the fundamental sense, every need is legitimate. It's not the fundamental legitimacy of our need that gets us into trouble. It's the poor management. Let me give you a quick example. I had a lady present to my office who was accused by her boyfriend of stalking him. And when I told her that you need to identify your needs and we need to make those legitimate because they are, she said, how could my jealousy
Be
be illegitimate? And I said, it's not. It's a mismanagement of a fundamentally legitimate need. So let's see if we can find out what that need is. Very quickly, we found out that it was a need to be reassured. And I looked at her and I said, what could be wrong with that?
So it's distinguishing which part of it is a legitimate need versus the mismanagement of the need that appears as another need.
Yes.
To the person.
You could say that, yes.
Okay. Because the person is like, I need them to love me forever, and I need them to tell their mother to, bye-bye forever. And, these sometimes appear as the actual want and need up front, but it's the distinction between what is it that is the mismanagement of it that is not appropriate, and it's really not a need, but somehow we figured out this type of a solution for our need, but that type of a solution could be a mismanagement, which
Exactly.
we brought up,
Right.
rather than identifying the original need, and then from there to be able to bring it up.
Exactly.
I know that you have co-authored this book with another doctor.
Yes, Dr. Todd Gaffney.
Dr. Todd Gaffney, which I also met him. And I wanted, if I could ask for you to put the book cover. So there we go, Making Love. So people, Amazon.com. That's where you get it.
And Untreed Reads, a publishing house out of San Francisco, has it in the ebook form. It's cheaper there.
Awesome. Do we have audio also yet?
Not yet.
Okay. So we're ordering one audio too. I'm just kidding. So please get the book and read through, learn about all of these concepts. You have specific skills in there that you guys can, take on and
The book has
look at it.
exercises.
Exercises.
Yeah.
So it's all ready for you. Thank you so much.
You're very
it
welcome.
was great. I really enjoyed
Thank you.
when I came to your lecture. I learned a lot more, and I think it was fun. I promised them this would be fun. Was this fun?
Yes, it was.
You're not just saying that because you're on TV with
That was
me.
fun. Thank you.
Thank you very much for being me. Thank you for being with us, and until next week, and talking about another one of the most wonderful things that are in your life, and approaching them from a psychological perspective.